everyone, and welcome to today's webinar brought to you by Movie. My name is Aditya, and I'm the Corporate Communication Manager at Movie, and I'll be your host for the day. Now, before we start, I would like to inform everyone that this webinar is being recorded and live streamed across our Facebook handle as well. I would request the audience to keep posting their questions in the Q&A chat. We will address them at the end of the video or at the end of the session. Now, we are also conducting a small poll at the end of today's session. I would request you all to please cast in your votes through the poll section available at the bottom of the screen. The questions will appear in the end of the session. Now, to kickstart today's event, I would like to take this opportunity to give you a quick overview about Movie. Now, Movie is headquartered in New York and was founded in 2011 with a vision to disrupt the global video and audio streaming market. Now, Movie is one of the leading players in the streaming platform service space and currently offers over 9 products with several more in the pipeline. Of these 9 products, the key product Movie One offers an end-to-end solution to launch your own white-labeled, agile, scalable OTT and live streaming platforms with zero coding. Now, to set a premise for this webinar, let us go through some statistics. Today, we are living in a hyper-connected world. We switch between mobiles, desktops, using multiple channels and platforms. Now, according to a study, 90% of users switch between screens to complete tasks using an average of 3 combinations every day. Now, this poses as a challenge for brands as they have to cut through the banter to offer a seamless experience to the customers. And it's not just the marketers who are looking for multi-channel customer engagement. 87% of customers also believe that the brands must invest in offering a seamless customer experience. Now, multi-channel platforms enable brands to offer an integrated, consistent and seamless experience across various customer touchpoints. Now, these channels cannot work in silos. They have to work in an integration to bring back the customers from where they had just dropped off. Now, with customers shifting from one channel to another, offering a uniform experience across every channel is important. Now, to do this, marketers have to first understand the customer's behavior, the channel they use, the purpose for which it is used. Now, this can be achieved by mapping customers' journeys across various touchpoints and creating a unified behavioral profiles. Now, to elaborate more on this, we have today's guest, Mr. Akshay Deshpande. With over 8 years of experience in digital and media space technology, Akshay joined Movie amidst the pandemic last year as a business development team head and looks after the Europe, Middle East and Africa region. Now, prior to this, he was the territory sales head at a leading firm in an enterprise-wide audio and visual collaboration industry. Now, having worked across various industry verticals, his expertise is not limited to social media, video conferencing to OTT. He has completed his bachelor's in mass media with a specialization in advertising. Always up for conversations, Akshay loves to chat about technologies, startups, and streaming ventures. With this, I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Akshay Deshpande. I would like to thank him for taking out time to conduct this informative webinar. Thank you, Mr. Deshpande. Now over to you.
Hey, thanks, Aditya. Thanks for the introduction. That was quite eloquent. Good evening, everyone. I am Akshay. This is me in black and white profile, but in reality, I'm quite colorful. So anyway, so I will be throwing a few insights on multi-channel platforms. Essentially, let's go ahead. Sorry. Yeah. So essentially, I'll be discussing the why, what, and hows of it. And most importantly, I am here. You all are here to have some fun. I try my best not to let this be a typical webinar. So when anyone asks that why go multi-channel, is it worth taking that dive? So, well, yes, because the water is filled with other swimmers who can handle you if you are unsure to handle yourself. See, this largely means that you aren't the sole source of your content for the platform. There are 5, means as low as 5, 10, 50, 100, 1,000 others who can contribute with their content. As said by Dan TDN, the best thing about YouTube is that anyone can do it. And that's exactly what I did. Those who are curious about Dan, he is a highly renowned YouTuber with over 25 million subscribers. And So that's basically the power of it. Means this code itself defines the charm of a multi-channel platform. So what exactly is a multi-channel platform, as in how would one define it? So see, it's basically where there are multiple sources of content instead of one. That's simple and straight. There are admin side multi-channel platforms, and then there are user side. So admin sides are fundamentally share user generated revenue with partner admins. Simple. And on the other hand, the user side is they are significantly they run on advertising. There are SWOT examples, but that's something that comes at a later stage. So, and admin side MCP, it's inviting content partners and providing them dashboard access. So you actually operate with them on a revenue sharing basis. They get the access of the portal, and it's typically backend to upload their content, set monetization, multiple other things. Unified MCP and segmented MCP. I'll use the term MCP now because speaking multi-channel platform every time is tiring actually. So unified MCP, it is something, it's pretty much what you read. Unified is partners adding content, but it all appearing as unified front end, as if the partners are like they are silent partners. OTT service or a platform can be multi-channel, but means there can be even hundreds of content creators or sort of contributors rather, who are uploading their content, but on the front side, as in when a normal end user enters it, it all appears as a unified front end. The content partners, on the other hand, of course, they get their own share of revenue. They get whatever is being paid by the user for their content. So that's all it. But there is no segmentation, which is the case of a segmented MCP. Means partners upload their content, their information, and they also create their own separate profiles and even set up monetization. So each has their as in a partner can literally have their homepage, their own featured section to advertise themselves. So taking some prominent examples into consideration, first is OnlyFans. They literally couldn't have come up with a better name here. Means it's like 10 on 10 to them. OnlyFans can join, or rather will join. Means that's the power of their name. So OnlyFans, as most of us know, it provides a platform where creators can publish exclusive content and lock it behind a paywall. So here, the one of the key aspects is that creators can operate on their own terms. So means I, as an creator or an I as a creator on OnlyFans, I can decide my own pricing because my content is not available, as in the content that I'm sharing is not available anywhere else on the planet, unless it's hacked, of course, but obviously means that the cases are quite rare over there. So that's the thing. And so the model of OnlyFans is that 80% of the revenue goes to the creators and 20% to the platform. So that is something which is fixed. All right, it's not fixed when it comes to Udemy. We'll go there later. But in OnlyFans, this revenue sharing is a constant. May it be anyone, means may it be even the most prominent of celebrities, or may it be even as in any I would say aspiring celebrity. So that's the thing with OnlyFans. And see, their aspect is they actually operate on exclusivity. So if you guys are aware, there is an former Disney actress, Bella Thorne. So she received $1 million worth of subscription literally within 24 hours of her joining. That means she herself earned $800,000 in one, as in within 24 hours. And OnlyFans, the platform, the ones who created it, they earned $200,000 over just one celebrity. within 24 hours. That's the game-changing aspect that they have created. Okay, moving on to Udemy. So see, Udemy, it's education based. So if you think you can teach grammar, maths, Microsoft Excel, digital marketing, even magic tricks for that matter, be an instructor at Udemy and earn from your target audience. And that's their model basically. So see, it's as in there are multiple courses created by instructors in multiple categories and are available in 65 plus languages. So, but if you remember, as I told, these all categories are closed categories. There are multiples of them. As I mentioned, that it goes from mathematics to magic tricks. So there is a multitude of categories, but still it's a closed category section. But yeah, so and the way Udemy as a platform earns is so there is the fees ranges from 3% to 75%, and it actually depends on how the user was acquired. So there are typically three ways. There is affiliate, there is organic, there is paid. So speaking about affiliate, let's say you are teaching digital marketing on Udemy, and through your Facebook account or through your Instagram profile, there is an affiliate link, and using that, I as a user, I joined Udemy. So the credit actually goes to you as an instructor, and here, so Udemy will be taking 3% of the revenue, whereas the entire 97% of the revenue belongs to you. Next is an organic search, wherein I, as an user, I enter Udemy. I want to learn Microsoft Excel. I just search for a course. I like a particular course, and I opt for it. So this is where it's a 50-50% revenue sharing between Udemy and the creator. And then obviously every other platform, even Udemy also runs paid campaigns. So if a user opts through a paid campaign, then in that case, it's actually then it's 75% and 75% to Udemy, of course, and 25% to the actual creator. And on top of that, so see, this is where the SWOD model also comes. So you can even subscribe to Udemy as in, so there is Udemy for business, and it is a significant fee, but hence it's for businesses. It's typically for companies to share it with their employees, and you have access to all possible, means there is also a limit to it, but yeah, so they can have certain packages, and you have access to pretty much the entire list of courses available on Udemy. So excuse me, so that is how they run. Okay, moving ahead. So see, this is the content partner model. So there is revenue sharing, which each partner gets portion of the revenue earned from the end users. The analytics of the content is offered to the partner at the backend, means, and this is just to justify the revenue sharing, because if means circling back to the first example, let's say there are 100 content creators uploading 10 different movies. So I, as the main admin, I have to share the analytics of the views, of the behaviors of the target audience, of the search terms, in order to justify that yes, means you are worth this revenue, and hence this contract can continue. Close search, the categories will be defined in advance and are subject to increase as per the target audience demand. Both, means you have you can have a provision to have VOD content that can be live. So Udemy, typically it has as in the courses are taught live, the courses are pre-recorded, and it's like similar to LinkedIn Learning, but also means in due course, if they can have live lectures. There are multiple e-learning as in streaming services that offer live lectures, and same with VOD. It can, means that's already quite established. This is one main aspect, that is review before production. So if you as an admin, if you want to review the content uploaded by your partner, just to ensure that it's fully compliant with your policies, you can review that, and then it actually goes to publish on the production side of it. And last thing is that you can enable blog or other as an additional services to them, so that they have the feasibility to sort of advertise themselves. So blog is one. Another example can be affiliate links, as I mentioned for Udemy. So that's some, as in on a high level, how a content partner model appears on the backend side of things. Okay, so moving on to user side MCP, it's just to invite users to create their profiles and attract followers towards them. So that's the as an essential model of it. Yeah. So this symbol is of course known to all of us. Those, if at all, those who are unaware, it's a platform from China which is perhaps more famous than the Great Wall of China. So you must have already read that who are its customers. So, or speaking in general, means who are the target customers of platforms like TikTok? And the answer is of course both. So we'll be talking in detail in the further slide. So some prominent examples of user side MCP. See, like this is actually quite impressive. Gaming industry, as we all know, it's a multi-billion dollar business. Means as of 2021, $155 billion precisely. But the fact that people like to watch others play games is something nobody saw coming in the initial days of video gaming. But obviously Twitch did. Twitch actually operates on the obsession of gamers, like live streaming games and personally engaging with your followers is their key ingredient, and platform makes money via advertising, as well as there is subscription. So subscription is for users who want to simply be ad-free. Advertising for Twitch is generally from gaming companies, game portals, game developers, and game event organizers. Because, see, where else can they get a highly targeted audience base who are practically addicted to video games? On the other hand, how do gamers earn? So, well, there is a partnership program with Twitch that requires approval, and the variables are quite similar to that of YouTube, wherein means variables like minimum number of views, followers, broadcasts per week, etc. And second part is means it's quite amazing, wherein, believe it or not, viewers donate to their favorite gamers. So I, as a gamer, am streaming, let's say, Call of Duty video game live and interacting with my audience and getting paid in advertising revenue, as well as my fans are donating me with all their you can say kindness and fascination. So imagine what a stressful life. Anyway, so leaving jokes aside, we'll move on to TikTok, the giant. The creators of TikTok, they actually realized that rolling our eyes is hardly any effort, and they simply made an app out of it. Like, TikTok is literally the epitome of user-based MCP. Means there are other examples, but this is by far the most prominent. You are inviting anyone and everyone to simply showcase what talent, information, entertainment quotient they have in merely 1 minute. Means what other mode of content do you require? Means that's literally means you are overwhelmed with miscellaneous content overall. TikTok makes money via, there is in-feed advertising, there are brand takeovers, there are brand hashtag challenges. So as in just to quickly explain the three. In-feed advertisements are the ones that appear between videos. So when users scroll through the pages, the way ads appear in Instagram stories, it's a similar format. Brand takeover ad, on the other hand, it appears when you first open the application. So typically in a day, if you open a TikTok app, let's say 20 times, so 20 times there will be some ad appearing on the beginning of it. And branded hashtag challenges, they simply allow businesses to build their own hashtag. So like something like Nike can have a hashtag that is hashtag keep inspiring or something like that. And then they have to pay TikTok, of course, to appear in people's discover feeds. And means this is a huge revenue source because brands are actually capitalizing on TikTok. The way a TikToker, on the other hand, the way they earn is through branded partnerships. Brands pay TikTok influencers to promote their products. And honestly, it's easier for a brand to invest in 50 influencers instead of one prominent celebrity. Means that's much as in price, as in it's a price benefit, as well as the reach can be better, and it is better in most of the cases. TikTok, same like Twitch. TikTok also has its own TikTok coins, which users can purchase and pay to their favorite influencer. So, all right, moving to a user side MCP model. So, an overview of it. It's AVOD. Advertising, it's the primary source of monetization here. Because yes, means user side has to be, means majority percentage of the audience is here because it is free. SOR is saturated. TVOD has to be a good value behind the TVOD. Otherwise, it has to be AVOD. Advertising, and the platform runs on sponsored ad by brands. On the other hand, for creators, there is explicit front-end analytics. There are views, comments, likes. You watch a TikTok video or a YouTube video or an Instagram video because it has a million views. Means that's the one thing. Even though it does not attract you in the first glance, the million views of the front-end analytics will. There is open search, means there are no predefined set of categories. Hence there is no limit to what one can search. Literally, as in you can try any random search hashtag, and there will be someone who has tried it before. Of course, means 10 as in 5 out of 10 chances might be that you are the first one, but the other 5, there is a big likelihood. It's brand endorsements, wherein digital creators having a decent follower base on by endorsing brands to their followers. Yeah, it's completely AI driven. So when I say AI driven, this is what I mean. Means you like puppies and dogs, you see puppies and dogs. So it's personalized search or personalized recommendations based on your behavior on the platform. And this algorithm, it just keeps on getting better and better as you use the platform. It's directly proportional to your usage. And yeah, here also it's both VOD as well as there is live content that you can go for. Twitch is more of live. TikTok, on the other hand, it's more of VOD. Yeah. I don't know if we have as in anyone of us has realized this before, but YouTube is one multi-channel platform that operates on all these 3 monetizations. Means there is advertising, which is obviously the biggest chunk of it. There is SVOD, which is YouTube Premium, as in you can subscribe to YouTube Premium to get rid of ads. And then there is TVOD, that is transactional video on demand. You must have observed that typically certain movies which are not available on Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Hotstar, Hulu are there on YouTube. It can be certain niche audience movies or documentaries. They are available on YouTube for a rental or a purchase base. So this is also something that you can think of, because as I mentioned, the as an overall content and monetization strategy is something you can actually go bonkers with. There are multiple combinations, and all can work actually, and means we are there to assist you. Okay, so benefits of an MCP. So it's the widest content platter. Everything, right from salt to spaceship, you will find it there, and that's a fact. Means literally any category that you search for, it's available on an MCP platform. Means provided it has that volume. There is personalization. So I know that there is something there for me always, may it be even the most niche category. Means if I find something like an as niche as a community for soup lovers, so there will be someone who will be available as a soup connoisseur, and he will be just rating different types of soups, he or she. There is always something new. Means there is, I don't know if you guys have checked it. I also sorry, I forgot the name of the channel, but there is a channel on YouTube that just mispronounces words, and that's their only form of content, and even they have around like hundreds of thousands of views. Moving ahead, so scaling up user engagement, there are different ways. Obviously, I mean, strategies never and then stick to one, and it's constantly evolving. But on a high level, these are the as in three elements that you can consider to sort of spike up your user engagement. See, relation to the audience is quite critical. Means each creator gets their own set of audience to relate to them. It can be on an comic way, it can be on an emotional way, it can be on an informative way. There are as in reels on Instagram, or there must be videos on TikTok for science lovers. Means it can be a branch of science, maybe just as in chemistry or physics. Influencers market themselves. So as contrary to content over your normal VOD platform that needs to be marketed, influencers make unique ways to market themselves. The way, as I told about Udemy or even OnlyFans, actually. So they can cross market themselves to through various platforms, and ultimately add the number of users onto the main application. And last is, of course, so followers take care of the rest. And social sharing tool is the most powerful tool. So this is something which you need in your platform, so that your content is spread across everyone. So that's as an overall high view. Of course, there can be much more to discuss when you enter deep into this. A typical journey to create an MCP. So this is the we are at the final aspect of it. So this is again means this is too on a very high level point, wherein you need to define your segment. It can be as mass attracting as TikTok. Means TikTok or YouTube, it's for everyone. But Udemy is not for everyone. It's for those who are keen to learn. Means one would say that everyone needs courses at some point of time, but in reality it's not the case. Means they have realized their segment, and that's who they are targeting. Same with Twitch. Means gaming, there might be millions of game loving people, but it's still a segment that they are catering to. Invite, you have to decide whether you want to be on a revenue sharing model, or you have to be on a as an AWOD model. So so this partners is end user generated revenue, whereas in this it's more of advertising revenue. You have to choose your monetization strategy. It can be purely AWOD, it can be even it can be purely SWOD as well. Means so Udemy is more of a transactional video on demand, but there can be something which is like I don't know if you guys are aware of certain health fitness apps. They are also multi-channel, wherein there are instructors who are posting their own what can I say, as in courses, their own fitness courses, but you subscribe to the platform as a whole, and it's a one-time subscription, and you have access to the entire content library. So same with Masterclass for that matter. So Masterclass, they are capitalizing on industry experts in the respective fields, and Masterclass also runs on an SWOT model, wherein you subscribe to the platform, and that's where you get access to as in the plethora of different contents. Yeah, so this might seem trivial, but it's quite important to predefine the permissions and settings for your content partners, or even the users for that sake. Because see, even there is a limit to as in being miscellaneous. So YouTube also has certain no-go policies. Even TikTok has certain no-go policies. People misuse it, they do, but still again, means action can be taken, and it can be sort of blocked. You can always, so you can create a content library of your own to kick off in the beginning, or just have as in a pilot wherein there are merely 5 partners, or as in like even 2 partners for that matter, and there is a content library of around some 50 or 100 odd videos, and you can kick off. And last thing, because this is what helps you to connect with your target audience, that is having an AI driven recommendation engine. And this too means, as discussed previously, it has to keep on evolving, because even it can be it can evolve up to certain stage wherein users, before they enter your platform, forget after registering or after they subscribe, before they enter your platform, or when they are on the homepage, they should get recommended content based on their browser history. Means the AI driven recommendation engine can go up to that level as well. So this is overall an way to go about it. Of course, means there are other aspects, but on high level, just to initiate a discussion, this can work. Okay, so lastly, I request, as in whoever are interested or looking forward to maybe some months down the line, years down the line, to have their own multi-channel streaming service. It can be any strategy. So you can take a quick photo of this or a screenshot of this, and if you would like to fill in these boxes, and then it would be a really great thing to have a discussion about. As in, you can approach us, and it will really be an easy conversation, or something to start with. So that's it, guys, from my side. Thank you all for joining the call. Thanks a lot. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deshpande, for sharing your valuable insights. The poll section is now open. People, the audience can open and cast their votes. We would also like to open the forum for a Q&A session. I would request the audience to post their questions in the Q&A chat so that we can discuss them in details. I can see some questions coming in right now. So the first question, should we start, Ashay, if you're okay with it?
Yes, please.
Sure. So the first question is there a scope for partners or users to just submit their videos and the admin does the rest of the operation?
Interesting question. Yes, so there is means, and in fact we have received certain as in similar requests like these, wherein, so you are the admin, and you don't want to provide any portal access to your partners. The primary reason here is that as in such partners, they are not very much tech savvy. Even though the partner portal can be very much user friendly, it is white labeled. So even the question of the portal being that means to find out the actual backend service provider. So even that gets eliminated. But still, so there can be a mechanism wherein you can have users simply, or rather partners simply submit you a video that gets added onto the dashboard or the main software automatically, and you as an admin can set up an external contract with them. So yes, so as in there is a clear provision here, and it's quite easy. So that's not much of a task.
Right. The second question is it possible to have a different sharing contract with different partners? As in, for premium partners, can it be can a sharing model be with 80-20% of the revenue, or for basic partners can it be 70-30
Interesting.
ratio?
Yes. So see, you have the, as an admin, you have complete control. See, as I we even discussed with two examples. So there is when we talked about OnlyFans, it's a uniform policy. It's 80-20, come what means, as in whoever be the creator. But you always have the provision to create customized contracts with your partners, wherein yes, the premium partners, because they are premium for a reason, as in they have, I just okay, so they are premium for excuse me one second. Yeah. So and their content is more engaging, and hence they can take a bigger cut of the revenue. Whereas as a basic partner, if you think that to begin with, their content is not much as in, what can I say, user grabbing, it can be on an lower side. So sort of like a 70-30 with them, and 60-40 with them, and a 70-30 with the premiums. Yeah, that's
Sure,
it.
sure.
Yeah.
So the next question is, what is the ideal patent license cost? Can you explain how that can be evaluated? The audience person is also thanking you for the informative session.
Thanks
and
a lot.
And she hopes to connect later on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Sorry, can you please repeat this question?
Yeah, the question is, what is the ideal patent license cost, and can you explain how that can be evaluated?
Patent license cost, actually, even I am, to be very honest, even I am also not aware. Patent license in the sense, see, if you are talking about an concept, as in an idea, so ideas cannot be patented. Means there are multiple mimicries or other multiple competitors of TikTok who have created similar platforms like this, but the process behind it can be patented. But then again, means as in, very honestly, I am not very much sure of the cost behind it, and also the process of filing a patent. So, but as in, if we connect later on, I'll in due course, means as in, that's a good homework for me. So I will as in try to do some research, and with regards to an patent for a streaming service, as in I'll find out as in what can be the process flow behind it. Thanks a lot.
Sure. The next question is there a scope for partners or users to we have actually answered this question, sorry.
Sure.
The next question is actually, is there a way to identify if the partner loads pirated content?
Yeah, means, as in, thanks for the question, but yeah, so there is see, okay, pirated content, all right, but it can be, sorry, I sort of misunderstood the question. It means I was thinking about reviewing the content, but simply reviewing it won't help you understand whether is it pirated or not. See, this will require a bit of custom development, as in it can be identified, wherein, so the way we identify, let's say, plagiarism, or the way we as in identify the way rather Google identifies, or YouTube identifies, or Instagram identifies that it's a copyrighted music. So something like this can also be implemented with your platform. And in fact, that's a really good question. This is something that can benefit the admins on a large scale, because otherwise you are right, there is no direct provision to know that the content is pirated before productizing it. Means after it gets productized, yes, then it can be asked to remove on the apps or on the website via Google or other search engines, or due to copyright infringement. But otherwise, yes, means before taking it into the front end, it can be a very very useful tool. Thanks for the question. We'll take a note of it, and we'll actually even decide some workflow of how this can, as in how we can help you achieve this. Thanks a lot.
Sure. The next question is, do you know how hotels have their own default TV channels and that they can feature the content that they want the hotel guests to see?
Right.
Can this platform be used in a similar manner?
Absolutely you can. So see, the means over here basically the as in there is okay, one counter question, but let's means I'll answer it both the ways. So one is that there are hotel TVs which having, as in they have a uniform slide, or on the other hand it's an customized slide on different hotels. So in either way it can be, because all you require either is an in-house app. So we do have customers who are as in they cater to 5-star hotels, wherein in their rooms they have an application that is pre-installed in the TVs and users can simply log in. But in your case, since it will be just a running video that will be going on in the restaurants or the hotels, so even that can be managed. It can be either through an application, or it can also be merely on web. It can be either a play out, means when I say play out, it typically it's like a live TV, or it can also be a playlist on loop. But yes, means this provision can be there, and it's a growing use case. Actually, we have got close to around 10 to 15 different requests with a similar model. So that's, if you are thinking of it, so that's a good area to explore.
Right. The next question is it viable to set individual subscription per profile as well as individual pricing per content? For example, if I'm a content partner,
Nice.
users can either subscribe to my channel or have access to all my content, or also have the provision to buy each of my content individually.
That's quite nice. And yes, so because and that's a good what can I say, recognition to your target audience, and whoever has asked this question, because see, I as an user, I will be entering as in an MCP multi-channel platform, and there is an let's say there is a course which has a lot of different elements, but I am not interested in the course overall, so I won't be looking forward to subscribe to it as a whole. But there are a couple of contents, as an individual contents, which I would like to view, of course. So or this is a better suitable example can be of sports. So as in there is a element wherein you are you have literally shared a series of matches. So to subscribe to it, you have to literally watch the entire, and it's not required, frankly. But if you want to watch one single football match, one single cricket match, one single baseball match, so you can just pay for that individual content and done with it. So that's quite a nice suggestion. Thanks.
Right. We'll just take a last few more questions and we'll close the day. The
Sure.
last question is how to start a journey of a content creator. It's actually a very elaborate question to answer.
Yeah, so see, I'll take myself as an example. See, I am a very amateur short filmmaker. Means I used to as introduced by Aditya. So I have a background of mass media, and I used to make certain short films, ad films in my advertising days. I always thought that there are multiple students like me who would want to have their short films, even it be as amateurish as one can think of, but still we can together we can build up a platform. So let's say I can begin with creating my own YouTube channel, or I can sell the concept to as in 50 others or 100 others, and it can be a crowdfunding thing. You never know, because crowdfunding is a powerful tool. Or all of us can even pitch it to an investor that all imagine it's a country or it's a state wherein there are thousands, in fact millions of students having their own set of videos. Imagine a platform like this. So yeah, means it can begin as basic as this, or it can be what can you say, a very detailed business model. But yeah, so it's as Aditya said, it's pretty much an elaborate answer, but means this is an what can I say, an aspect to it. Yeah.
Right. The next question is it possible for partners to publish content for specific countries? So basically, I think we're talking about geo-restrictions.
Geo-restrictions, nice. Yes. There is, of course. So you have the provision to geo-block, and in fact, your means forget about the contents. Your subscription packages can also be geo-blocked. As in your subscription, as in your content, as well as that entire subscription, it's available for let's say France, but the similar pricing is not available for Italy. The content is the same, but the package for Italy, France and Italy, since both are Europe, it will be in euros. Let's say France and India. So the package to India will be different as the package to France, even though the content is same. So yes, you should have, and you can have geo-blocking or geo-restrictions to your content and subscription packages.
Right. This is a very interesting question. How do you deal with piracy when users can easily record your content and share them on pirate sites?
Yeah. So see, to be honest, it's tough. Means there are ways, but at the end, hackers or the ones who can screen record, they will screen record. The latest development here is although forensic watermark. So wherein forensic watermark, it's an hidden what can I say, a hidden code which is embedded in the video, and if anyone shares it, and then when it's getting uploaded to some third party site, the admin gets notification. So it is, as in there is active monitoring required by a service provider, but yes, this can be achieved, and certain companies have started implementing that when it's highly confidential content. So yes, this particular model can be implemented, because see, there is also dynamic watermarking, wherein literally the username, the IP address, or the location that's being flickered on the screen at different points, that can actually solve your purpose if you see, but the viewing experience is not immersive in such a way. Means imagine someone watching a really good movie or a really good content of yours, and there is a watermark. Even though the opacity of that watermark is reduced, still it's a bothering element to me. So even by the way, means even if you try to screen record Netflix, means I'm sure we can consider Netflix as the as in player A of conventional streaming, but even you can record Netflix on the website. It's there is DRM, and means complete encryption available on applications. Even when it comes to Chromecast, that can be prevented. Means means you can rest assured regarding applications. If you try to screen record a content on the Android app or the iOS app, you will literally get a black screen. So that can be avoided. But when it comes to browsers, means there are multiple ways to hack. Even let's say, means if you try to block the screen recording, it can always be done through an external camera. So there are multiple ways. So dynamic watermark option not highly recommended, and forensic watermarking much recommended as an option. You can go ahead with it. Yeah.
Right. In fact, Ashay, to take this conversation forward, our next webinar is actually on the security features for live streaming and videos, for on-demand videos. We are having, Mr. Bibin Johnny, who is the product manager, and he's talking about how to protect your live videos from piracy. I would insist all our audiences, please register yourselves to attend this webinar. It's coming on the November 24th at the same time. With this, we would like to conclude the session. We've actually crossed our allocated time. So thank you for all the audience. People who are interested, we are also offering a 14-day free trial across all our products. This is exclusive for you guys. It's a steal deal if you wish to own your, launch your own digital OTT streaming platform anytime soon. Now to know more, you can log on to our website, www.movie.com, or reach out to us on any of our social media platforms. You can also stay tuned to our various social media channels for more content or to track such industry disruptive innovations and to keep your market approach updated to the T. Thank you. Until next time. And thank you, Ashay, for this informative webinar.
Thanks a lot, Aditya. Thanks everyone for joining. Take care and stay safe.